You're listening to the For Frequency's Sake Network.
Back at it again here on this lovely Tuesday, mild afternoon. Almost a little past the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour here on the Educated Ignorance Podcast. We welcome you in. We are in week 2 of divisional preview month, NFL preview stuff. We're rolling right along. It is East week. Last week was West week, like West Wing, but I don't know, maybe a little bit better. It is East week. East is, to the right of the map, depending on what direction you are or you're looking. And we are going to break down the AFC East today and the NFC East on Thursday. We are excited. My name, as always, is Joe Winkle. I want to thank everybody hanging out with us. This is the Educated Ignorance Podcast, presented by our good friend Bryant Beal over at Keller Williams Midwest Partners. And of course, as always, for frequency's sake, QC is presented by Durham Remodeling, Ryan Allison Tattoo, and Jared Zook from Country Financial. Some housekeeping notes. Go check out all of our content. We're going to start posting stuff. We're still hammering out stuff on a weekly basis. We had watching the W going on before the Olympic break. I'm sure that'll be something that's Doug and we'll have that rocking and rolling once they get back from the Olympics. Fantastic show that we started during the spring. Payoff pitch. We've got card subject to change. That's been hammering stuff out. SummerSlam was this weekend. Great show. And the boys talked about it on Sunday. And we are going to be right back here and rocking and rolling. And it's looking like September 1st will be the first Sunday where you get a For Frequency's Sake, my apologies. Sunday, September 1st will be the first double dip, a Sunday morning For Fantasy Sake and a Sunday night Educated Ignorance Podcast. It will be pretty much what you'll expect from September through January, through February, I guess the double dose will happen almost through the end of the year. And then once fantasy season ends, me and Brinksy will be back and bouncing them out during the playoffs a couple times a week. You know how it's going, but we are about to be ready, rocking and rolling. Want to thank everybody hanging out with us. But yes, Sunday, September 1st will be the first week that we have our morning show and our Sunday night show. Obviously, we won't be doing a post show on that September 1st, but that'll be the first show of the year for me and Brinks. We will be doing stuff like our early season takes, some kind of last year. What we did was, what are some new teams in the playoffs? Who do we think is going to miss the playoffs? Kind of predict stuff from the year, a year out, or at the outlook of the year. So, we'll be excited to go through all of that stuff and be ready to share all that with you here this week. Lastly, if you're watching, please like this video. We really appreciate it. Hang out with us in the chat. Tell us what your thoughts are on any of these teams that we're going to be talking about today, which again is the AFC East, the Bills, Dolphins, Jets, and the Patriots. Give us if you're just coming to stop by, give us an NFL hot take. We'll spit it on the show and we'll see if we agree with it or not. Okay, that is it for that. Let's take a drink from the chalice of supremacy here. And remind everybody, we are coming to you from Studio J and House X. Let's get after it. All right. First team on the docket in the AFC East. It is the Buffalo Bills. Now, most of you know I am a hater and certified. Shout out to Bomani Jones. And I am somebody who understands, how to not enjoy the Buffalo Bills almost as good as anybody. Here's the thing. People are going to, we're in that the Buffalo Bills come in like stages, right? They're like a 6 or 7 course meal. We're on course 1 right now where everyone's kind of, talking themselves back into how good this team is going to be, all of that stuff. Then eventually you go through the season and they lose one of their first 4 games of the year in that month. And eventually, it's not a good loss, but eventually by the end of the month, there's a game at the end of September or right at the beginning of October in that week 4 to 5 range where it's a really important game. The Bills win it impressively, and everyone forgets about that shitty loss they had to start the year. And everyone's crowning them as the world champions. It happens every year. It's clockwork. The last couple seasons, they are the back-to-back defending September champions, and in both years, they have lost playoff games at home in the divisional round to finish around 7th or 8th in the league. Congratulations, Buffalo. So, yeah, those are the stages that we go through with the Buffalo Bills. I am ready for all of the dumb takes to spew in. I understand that after last season, I am kind of bending the knee at the take that Josh Allen is probably by himself somehow worth 10 or 11 wins. Okay. After what happened last year, they had the year from hell. To a degree, Allen wasn't that great, but they came alive. Diggs was pretty much non-existent. They fired the coordinator because Josh Allen kept throwing so many interceptions and dropping the football. You'd have people go on podcasts and say it's okay that he throws picks because he's taking chances. No, he's literally throwing the ball right to teams wearing a different jersey. That's a massive difference than taking chances. Listen, man, we all understand it. Josh Allen is like more protected than John Cena in 2009. I get it. Here's the thing. Like I stated, we've got it on record. I think he's one of the 4 best quarterbacks alive. There's no doubt about that. This team, because of that, potentially probably is going to win 10 games no matter what. 11 games potentially. Last year, I didn't think they were that good. I thought they were overrated all season. I sniffed everything out coming a mile away. I missed on a couple things. Like I thought Dallas would beat them, but then again, I was a little bit higher on Dallas than I probably should have. Not going to fall for that one again. And the Bills crushed them. The Bills won in Kansas City. If it wasn't for that Kadarius, who knows what happens if it wasn't for that Kadarius Toney thing where they called him lining up off sides. But yeah, it's a cycle, and Josh is in here already talking. Keon Coleman is already doing better with Allen than he said than Diggs. I mean, that's doubtful. And I'm a Knowles fan, and I love Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's going to be great for him because Josh Allen has never really had like a jump ball red zone guy where they're in the red zone and he could just throw the ball and tell Keon Coleman to go dunk on somebody. So that could definitely be something. But listen, we're in that mode. We're in August. We're ready. It's time for everybody to give their fantasy football takes about the Bills, where they're going to talk about this random receiver. The last couple of years, it's been Gabe Davis, who's going to be a fantasy breakout star. Can't wait for that. The Bills, another running back, Buffalo Bills running back, who's going to be a fantasy breakout. And they'll tell you how good the James Cook in the running game was to end last season. And I understand that in the last 2 months of the year, whatever the hell it was, that James Cook was like a top 5 running back. Listen, man, Josh says Keon Coleman, wide receiver 1, top 50. Suck my dick, Josh. You're an idiot. There's no fucking way that Keon Coleman is a top 15 fantasy receiver. And I love Keon Coleman, but there's no way that that's happening. Listen, get ready for the Khalil Shakir is going to have 1,500 yards takes. The Buffalo Bills are Groundhog Day. They are the same meme repeating itself every single year, and it's hilarious. Because they have Josh Allen, it won't matter at the end of the day. And here's the thing, that for the Bills, here's the craziest part. I've already heard, this is the wildest take to me. I've already heard people saying, comparing them losing Diggs to Mahomes losing Hill, which, again, it's the Bills being put on the same level as the Chiefs without any of the fucking accolades. They're already saying, oh, well, they'll be fine, I mean, listen, maybe. They'll be in the same exact spot. The Chiefs went from winning Super Bowls to winning Super Bowls. The Bills are probably going to go from losing in the divisional round to losing in the divisional round. I digress. This no team just irks me like the fucking Bills do. Last year they went 11-6. They lost in the divisional round. Shocker. McDermott still the head coach. People thought that was a potential that he was going to get got. Do I agree? Josh, I hope you're not mad. I was just angry and I took it out on you, buddy. I love you. You're my friend. You still play in way too many fantasy football leagues, though. McDermott not being fired, I guess, wins against the Chargers and who they beaten. Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers in the division in the wild card round, led by Mason fucking Rudolph. I guess those games saved his job. That Dolphins win was impressive at the end of the year, even though the Dolphins were terrible. But I mean, the Bills found a way to win. Their defense was all right. They improved. They battled around a lot of injuries last year. Joe Brady and OC. Listen, there are things in the run game that they did that were impressive. I'm going to be very intrigued to see how that carries over. Bobby Babbage. Ooh, no, not that. He's the defensive coordinator, though. Sean McDermott is the defensive play caller. Additions for the Bills. Not many notable ones. They add Nicholas Morrow at the linebacker position. Curtis Samuel comes over to be a receiver. He'll probably be an ex-receiver until they figure out how they're going to use Keon Coleman. Could Coleman have 4 or 5 touchdowns this year? Maybe. But the reason that I was so harsh on the Josh's take of Coleman being a top 15 receiver is you got to have 1,000 yards at least to be a top 15 fantasy receiver. He's not going to even have, like, if he has 500 yards, I'll be stunned. I just don't think that's how this offense is going to operate. I don't think he's going to be walk into the league and be a top 10 guy. I just don't. And again, I love him. Go Knowles and everything. They lose Stephon Diggs, which I don't think it's a huge deal. Diggs was checked out last season and he wasn't good, and the offense made things happen. They lost Mitch Morse up front. They lost Gabe Davis at receiver, which again, I don't think that's going to be a huge deal. Gabe Davis was this insane, not trick play, but he was basically this just specialty X receiver who ran a lot of what we call for the love of the game routes. And that's going to be what guys like Mac Hollins and Curtis Samuel do in this offense now, maybe even Keon Coleman. The bigger losses are on the defensive end, Trey White and Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer going to the Dolphins, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Trey White went to one of the teams that we talked about last week. I forgot who Trey White landed on. Trey White ended up on the Rams, didn't he? Yes, he did, which I thought was a really good move. This defense is very intriguing. Not in a good way. I think there's some good pieces. Listen, Matt Milano is a very good player, one of the best linebackers in the league, but he's got to stay healthy. Their DBs, I don't like. Rasul Douglas has not been good since he left since that 1 year in Green Bay, where he kind of found that was obviously the outlier year of his career. Taylor Rapp, they get Mike Edwards from the Chiefs. He's a solid player. Taylor Rapp's a good young player. I do think he's good. Or younger player, 26 years old. I thought he had a good season last year. Benford and Taron Johnson, they're all right. I just think they lost some juice on that back end. You lose Micah Hyde, you lose Jordan Poyer, you lose Trey White. That's your 3 best DBs. Now, I know they were dinged up over the last year or so, but still, that's not great. Up front, they have names that you would like to have, right? But where's the production? Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa, listen, I want to believe that both of those guys are absolute savages and can make it happen, But AJ Epinesa, I'm looking up AJ Epinesa, he had 6.5 sacks last year, which is all right. But it's production-wise, how are we going to, where do we build from here? It's 5 sacks for Rousseau. Your ace edge rusher has, your ace edge rusher has 5.5 sacks or 5 sacks, 6.5 sacks from your ace edge rusher. you know? Now, Russo had 8 in 2022, but still, they still have Von Miller, who is long in the tooth, but he didn't play at all last season. He never got on the field. Just been rough for this iteration of the Bills' defensive line. The Von Miller era in Buffalo on defense started out fantastic, and it just kind of died. Ed Oliver is still a fantastic player. 9.5 sacks from the inside. He does a lot of really good things, but I don't. Their defensive line leaves a lot to be desired. You would think it's going to be a lot better than it is, but it's not. The strengths for this team are obviously the quarterback. They employ Josh Allen, which at worst you employ right now the fourth best quarterback alive, at best the second. That's good. Their defensive spine, I think, is solid because I do think, listen, Ed Oliver's great. I like Milano. Terrell Bernard is a good player. He had a good season last year at linebacker. And then Taylor Rapp and Mike Edwards, not bad at safety. Listen, is it as good as Poyer and Hyde? No, but you could do way worse. So their defensive spine is solid. Offensive skill, though, is a weakness for them, I think. James Cook is electric with the ball in his hands, and Khalil Shakir makes a play every now and then. But there's a lot of questions. How is Keon Coleman going to be used, and how effective will he be? Listen, Dalton Kincaid has the juice to be really good. Everyone is expecting him to be Travis Kelce, basically. Listen, as a rookie, he had 670 yards, which is impressive. I will give him that. I think he's a great player. Can he keep that up? How does that look? Will he be this team's number one option? Will he be their number two option? How will he be utilized? Expect more of him and less to Dawson Knox? I'm intrigued. Curtis Samuel. I do think Curtis Samuel actually does bring I think he brings some value over to this team. I think that he's going to be able to do some stuff that is going to help out. I think he'll be better maybe than Shakir. Like, people have been expecting Shakir to be a thing over the last couple of years, and like, is Khalil Shakir going to roll out of bed and be the number one receiver on the Bills? Like, come on, guys. Come on now. Like, are you really expecting that? Like, listen, I understand that Shakir had some good games last season, but they still had Diggs on the field to take up number one corners. You know what I'm saying? And they were able to do stuff. You're going to have number one corners on Khalil Shakir every week. You're going to have Trent McDuffie following him around, Marlon Humphrey. I mean, there's a lot of good. Jalen Ramsey. You have a lot of good corners in this league that are just going to be on him like white on rice. I mean, hey, good luck, man. Success. We talk about success and failure for each team. What does success look like? I think listen, I'm not even going to be a dick and say they have to make the Super Bowl. I think if they make the AFC title game, successful season. Because I understand what this team is more than anybody else. Well, mostly anybody else. I understand what this team's ceiling is. I understand what they have and haven't done. So I'm not going to sit here and place these things on them like every other person who is a nerd and talks about this sport is going to try to do. They're going to try to talk about how the Bills do this and that and blah, 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 and how they're going to do this and that when it's like, brother, they haven't, like, you can't talk about going home and sleeping with her and marrying her and building a family and running an empire with this woman when y'all haven't even gone on a date yet. Like, bro, you ain't even got past first base, okay? That's what the Bills are. Come on now. Like, y'all are trying to Netflix and chill, and she won't even come over and let you get her subscription to Netflix. That's where the Bills are at. Are they going to roll out of bed and win 10 games potentially, maybe even 11 or more, because they employ one of the 5 best quarterbacks at worst in the world? Probably. But that's about it. We'll see. We will check back in with you for the Bills when we give them their third straight September championship banner in about 7, 8 weeks. What would it be? I don't know, something like that. But we'll be ready for it. Can't wait for that podcast. All right, now talking about a team that I'm going to love even talking about more than the Bills. LOL. The Miami Dolphins. Okay, so last year I haven't talked about the Tua stuff on this channel yet. Tua became the highest paid quarterback in the league I guess he did make more money than Jordan Love. Did he get the highest guaranteed? I don't think he did, but he got 170 guaranteed or whatever. And in my quarterback rankings, I said he was the 20th best, 20th, 21st best quarterback alive. I had him behind some questionable guys, you know. Do I retract that statement? No, not exactly. Do I think he's a good player? He does what he can. Okay, I'm being very mean. I don't know what Tua does well in certain, like, listen, his accuracy, his anticipation, very good, super high level, incredibly elite. But he's not a force multiplier. He doesn't do extra stuff. And I was all in on everything. He showed stuff at the beginning of last year and then faded down the stretch. People listen. So Pat Mahomes was fourth in the NFL 100, and Tyreek Hill was first, which cool. Awesome that a player on a team that I cheer for was number one in the NFL 100. Pretty cool. He shouldn't have been, but whatever. Someone was saying how, well, Tyreek Hill only had one 100-yard game after December. Yeah, because his quarterback sucked in December. And the team sucked in December. They played the Ravens. They played that game against the Titans when Hill got hurt. So yeah, and they played the Bills. And Tua was ass in all of those games. When the games count, Tua's not good, man. That's the problem. They were 11-6 last year. Absolutely fucking choked on it down the stretch. Lost in the wild card round, shocker, to the Chiefs, shocker, in a game that was, of course, as you know, very cold. Their offense was lifeless. They're coached by Mike McDaniel, who I think is an elite coach. Their OC is Frank Smith. Their DC, moving on from Vic Fangio. Some reason that was a bad relationship. I'm thinking Vic is just not in touch with reality anymore. I don't know. He is gone. They bring in Anthony Weaver, who is was a part of the Mike McDonald coaching tree with the Ravens. So I do like that. They add Jack Driscoll, who's going to probably be a swing lineman for them. God knows they can never keep offensive linemen healthy, so he will play this year. Bet your ass. They add Kendall Fuller at corner. They add my two by far things that they add is Jordan Brooks, linebacker from the Seahawks, and Jordan Poyer, safety. That second safety spot was one that they never really had. Was one that they never really were able to fill out, and putting Poyer back there with Holland, man, that is nice. That defense, that secondary is sick. They lost though. They had some tough losses. They of course lose Xavier Howard off the secondary. They lose Jerome Baker. They lose Andrew Van Ginkel, Emmanuel Ogbah, and the biggest one is Christian Wilkins. Now I'm happy for Christian Wilkins. He was amazing last year for this team. He went out and got the bag, man. He went out and got the bag. Good for him. I am very happy for him with the Raiders. He is a very good player. So that's going to be a concern. We'll talk in a little bit about the defensive line. On the offensive line, they lose Robert Hunt, who was actually pretty good for them last year. Just had to stay healthy. When he wasn't out there, it showed. The strengths for this team, of course, are their offensive speed. They have one of the more they have maybe the most explosive running back room in the league in Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. I really am going to be interested to see if they continue to adapt to their running game. But it's elite. Their running game's elite. And of course, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are super duper stars. Adding Odell Beckham, interesting. He's not a burner, obviously, but I'm just mentioning that's something that was interesting and something I didn't mention in the guys that they added. I don't know when or how much he'll play, but he's a better third receiver than like Cedric Wilson, So just a note. Let's see here. Weaknesses, I put quarterback in weather that's below 60 degrees, and the offensive line. The main thing offensively, the offensive line, it just never stays healthy. A lot of question marks, and we'll see. They were able, when this offense is cooking, they're able to hide the flaws of the offense. If this team had an actual offensive line, who knows what kind of bag they'd have. But McDaniel's so good at it, dialing it up that they kind of work around the fact that their offensive line is very not good. Like their win rate last year just compared to the sack percentage is historically abnormal. Historically, they have like one of the best sack percentages in the league because Tua gets the ball out so fast because that's just how the offense operates in. But their pass block win rate is it's astronomically embarrassing. On the defensive side, the biggest issue in my mind going into the season for the Dolphins is how banged up they are up front. You lose Christian Wilkins, you lose Agba, you lose Van Ginkel. That's all three guys that would have been rotational defensive linemen. You sign Shaq Barrett, he retires, which is unfortunate. Your two best guys who are superstar players, Bradley Chubb, who had an amazing year last year, blows his knee out in week 17, week 16, whatever it was, that fucking Ravens game. And Jalen Phillips, who was emerging as one of the best edge players in the league, tears his Achilles in the Jets game because MetLife has the worst field in the world. So when those guys come back, who knows? Will they play at all next year? Who knows? Like, that's tough. Tough. That's two of the better, not just on this team, not just in this division, not just in the league. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are two of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Top 10, 15 guys. I mean, Phillips in 12 games last year had 6 in it, or not even that, because he missed games early in the year also. I mean, he was incredible last season in the games that he played. 6.5 sacks last year. 43 total tackles. I don't know how many TFLs he had, but man, he was incredible. And the fact, again, that he barely played. He played, 8 games. He almost had a sack a game. Phillips is amazing. And then Chubb, I thought, had a great year too. Like, Chubb was awesome. 11 sacks for Chubb. I mean, man, it's just going to be tough. Going to be very tough to see, like, if either one of them play, man. And that's going to be like. So they did bring Emmanuel Ogbah back. He was gone. Well, they drafted 2 guys that are very interesting. In the first round, they drafted Chop Robinson. Okay, interested. Edge rusher from Penn State. He's very raw. Can he make a difference? They also go out and draft Muhammad Kamara. He was a D lineman on Colorado State. Very high traits. They go out and get Calais Campbell. You'll expect to see a lot more Zach Sealer as the star up front, who I thought had a pretty solid season last year, kind of being that third D tackle. I mean, Sealer last year, that's his stats from last year. Holy shit. No way. He had 10. Holy fuck. Sealer had 10 sacks last year? Okay. Yeah, so Sealer kind of had a career year last year. I didn't realize he had 10 sacks. My God. So yeah, Sealer's really good. So they still got him up front. They go add Calais Campbell. They still got stuff to work with. And I do think with Weaver coming over, part of that Mike McDonald tree from the Ravens, I think this defense is going to still be good. They're DBs, so they lose Jerome Baker, but they go out and get Jordan Brooks. They got Anthony Walker and David Long in the middle. I think their linebackers are okay. Their DBs, their secondary is nasty. Fuller is a good player. Kader Kohu kicking him inside is nice. Jalen Ramsey, you already know, one of the best players in the league still. And then, of course, Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer. They just got to stay healthy, man. This team was so beat to shit by the time they got to this. Their defense was so beat to shit by the time they got to the playoffs, like it wouldn't have mattered. Like their defense, it wouldn't have not like nothing would have mattered. You add that with the fact that their quarterback was a disaster in the playoff game. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this team when I'm going to do predictions in a few weeks because I don't know who's going to be ready week one. I think that secondary is going to be ready to rock week one. Those dudes are awesome, and that secondary is juiced. But how healthy can the O-line stay? Can Tua prove me wrong? How healthy can Hill and Waddle stay? How healthy can the running backs stay, man? Like A-Chain missed a shit ton of games too, I believe. Like it's just there's a lot of stuff, man. And yeah, A-Chain only played 11 games. Like they just gotta stay healthy. That's what they gotta do. Stay healthy. Success for the Dolphins is simple. Win a playoff game. I don't that's it. That's your bar. Win a playoff game. The failure is missing the playoffs. I think it's not as, I think, or, if you get in the playoffs again and lose, yeah, it's going to suck. But winning the division too would be nice. If you're there, don't blow it like you did last season. That'd be cool. But yeah, missing the playoffs, I think that's a step backwards. And that I think would be a failure, even though they have some deficiencies on the roster compared to last season. I think missing the playoffs, obviously. And I shouldn't say deficiencies. They're still going to have one of the. They should, right? Have a top 10 offense. Like, why wouldn't they? But boy, oh boy, those games in December. Maybe they'll prove me wrong this year. I don't know. I doubt it, but I'm pessimistic about this team this year. I am worried. But again, missing the playoffs is a failure for this Dolphins team, who has been taking the right steps for years now, and now I'm worried that this is going to be a year that they take a step or two backwards and then have to kind of reevaluate some stuff. So, all right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and get the second half of the division here on QC on the Educated Ignorance podcast on FFSQC.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake, still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Cards Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For frequency's sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
One second, America. Okay. Okay. That's fair. All right, we are back. I want to thank everybody hanging out with us. Just had a weird technical thing that I wanted to check. I got to pull up my little notes and flip my little notes. AFC East preview. I want to thank everybody that's hanging out with us. It is time to look at the New York Jets. Jets. I'm ready to be heartbroken again by this team. I shouldn't like them because they're a divisional rival, but listen. Last year, 7-10, third in the AFC East. They are
Football
still
season
employ
may be
Robert
over,
Saleh.
but for frequency's sake, still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the
Fucking amateur. Sorry everybody. They still have Robert Saleh on the payroll, which I guess good job. They still have Nat Hackett, PI, aka Nathaniel Hackett, on the payroll, which I guess good job. And Jeff Ulbrich is their defensive coordinator. Additions on this roster: Tyron Smith at tackle, which people decided to think was a bad move. Just because he's old, I guess we'll see. Adding a Hall of Famer, even though he's 33, I think's a good move. But what do I know? I'm just a dumbass. Mike Williams, receiver. If you can get healthy, and for the love of God, not get an ankle or a hamstring injury, that would be fun. He could be a definite weapon for this offense. And Javon Kinlaw, to add him on that defensive front is kind of nasty. Kinlaw's been a guy who's been a producer. He's done some stuff he did some good things with the Niners. To have him come over and be like the 5th or 6th best defensive lineman on this team is going to be nice. And of course, they added Hassan Reddick, a guy who who was fantastic. Last season, let's see here. The last couple of years, what do you have? He had 16. He's been great. 4 years. 2020 with Arizona, he had 12.5 sacks. In 2021 in Carolina, he had 11. And in Philly, he had 16. And then last year, after not having a sack for a month, he finished with 11 sacks. So Hassan Reddick, adding him to this defensive line is nasty. Saw some sort of report. Was just trying to check that. So this team last year, of course, their season crash landed before it even got off the ground. The proverbial jet was blown up by a bazooka on the takeoff, the ramp, on the runway. Aaron Rodgers blows his Achilles 4 plays into the season. We all know it. We've all seen it. We've all talked about it. This roster clearly hinges on him. They do have a much better quarterback room now. Tyrod Taylor coming in. He's their backup. They went out and got Jordan Travis in the draft. I don't think he's particularly an NFL quarterback, and obviously had the broken leg then last season. Go Noles. But I don't, Taylor, worst case, if Rodgers misses a few games, Tyrod Taylor is much, 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 much better than Zach Wilson or whoever the fuck that they had strolling out at quarterback last season. Guys that they lost: Mekhi Becton on the O-line, Bryce Huff, DB, and John Franklin Myers. He's a DN. They lose those guys. Those are their key losses. This team's offense is going to be interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's start with what I think is their biggest strength, and I think it's one of the best strengths in the league. You could argue that there's a chance it could be if they play with a normal offense on this team. This defense has the potential to be the ace, the trump card of the NFL season. Compared to what the Ravens or the Browns were last year, that's how good this team this unit can be. And we're talking about the Jets defense. They lose a couple guys up front, but they add Hassan Reddick. They add Javon Kinlaw to that nasty defensive line. Quinnen Williams is one of the best players in the NFL on the inside. I mean, he is an absolute freak. So that's a fantastic D-line. Quincy Williams, Mosley, and Jamie and Shepard and at linebacker are all great players. And then that defensive secondary Tony Adams, Chuck Clark at second at the safety position are solid. Michael Reed and Michael Carter, DJ Reed, and of course Ahmad Gardner, aka Sauce Gardner, at corner. This defense is just nasty. Sauce has come in and been one of the best corners in the league since he was drafted. That's easy to note. Their defense, their secondary as a whole, I think is really good. This defense as a whole is nasty. They fly around. They're vicious. This is a really, really good team, man. I'm very excited to see how this team does if it all stays together, if they all bind together, if the offense doesn't fall off the damn train tracks again, aka if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. Now let's talk about the offense. I do think a weakness is the offensive line. We said it last year, and it's something I'm worried about this year. Now, listen, they do go out and get Tyron Smith. They do draft Olu Fashanu, who it doesn't look like he's going to start, which is interesting, but hey, they just got to stay healthy up front is the main thing. That's really it. That is the main thing. Stay healthy up front, keep their quarterback healthy and ready to roll. Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the league. He's turning into one of those guys. He is back. They go out and draft Braylon Allen, which is a hell of a 1-2 combination if you have to go that route. I don't love their receivers, but Garrett Wilson, I think if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I think Garrett Wilson has the potential to be a superstar. He, in his career so far, in 2 years, he has 1,103 yards and 1,042 yards. The problem is he's only caught 7 touchdowns, but again, he has been getting balls thrown to him by people that have the same quarterback regimen as like me. So shout out to them. Garrett Wilson getting number 1 targets from Aaron Rodgers will change lives potentially. Mike Williams would be great just to have that as a third down red zone threat. So this Jets team, I do believe this team can do some stuff. I think people are going to be out on them. People are going to sour on them. But I am I the most optimistic out of the normal folks that are going to talk football that you watch or listen to? Maybe. I don't know. Some people are going to say the people who really love Rodgers are going to come in and roll out of bed and say that they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to go that far. I'm tempering my expectations a bit compared to last year because I need to see it to believe it, but I still think Rodgers is great. Guys get hurt. We'll see how he comes back. He's old, but we'll see. The success for this team is make the playoffs. I think if this team makes the playoffs, I think it's a successful season. I don't think that's cheating. I don't think that's abnormal. It's the Jets. They haven't made the playoffs. They've barely been relevant. They've been relevant for all the wrong reasons for the longest time. If the Jets are a division champion or in the hunt in a legitimate way in the final few weeks of the season and make the playoffs and Rodgers is healthy and it's all rolling, it's a successful year for the Jets. They don't have to, their season's not going to be defined or, swung on whether or not they win in the conference championship game. It's just not. If this team makes the playoffs, everything after that, in my opinion, I am one man. I think I'm a smart person, but some people would say otherwise. Outside of that, I think everything else is found money. Failure for them, if they can't continue to stay healthy, a Rodgers setback, whether that be in his play or his or another injury, and then coaching miscues. I think listen, man, there were options out there. Bill Belichick would have been the funny one, but obviously very unlikely. But Mike Vrabel does not have a job. And the Jets decided to run this back with Saleh and with Nathaniel Hackett and all that stuff. I don't know why. Would Rodgers have been pissed off? I would like to believe that Aaron Rodgers isn't this prissy child that he can actually take if a coach gets changed. I understand the Nate Hackett thing. I get it. They're buddies and whatnot. Maybe Rodgers was just familiar with his offense, and that's why he wanted Hackett to be the coach. I don't know. Crazy concept. I understand that's a little bit too right-winged brain for you people or whatever, and I can't believe I said it that way, but anytime people talk about Rodgers, it has to involve vaccine talk and Joe Rogan podcast appearances. Maybe he just him and Hackett are buddies, but maybe he was familiar with his system, and that's why he wanted Hackett. Not because Rodgers is this crazy, whatever. It's insane talk to me. Like, why can't we just talk about football and have logical reasons behind stuff? But yeah, the Jets deciding to run it back. Listen, maybe it was Rodgers. Maybe he is a crazy person, and I'm off my rocker here. But I would like to believe if they would have said, "Hey, we're gonna go hire Mike fucking Vrabel," I think he would have been like, "Yeah, good, let's do it." But they decided not to. They decided to not do anything with the coaching staff. So yeah, like, it's early in the season and they're losing. If everyone's healthy, but they're losing games because of coaching decisions, I don't know. Now, the fact that they've gone 14-20 over the last couple of years with horrendous, literally like bottom barrel quarterback play in the league, it'd be hard pressed to find any team that's been quarterbacked worse than them over the last 2 years. And those were the last 2 years where we thought that this team could actually be something. Yeah, you could also say, who knows if anyone else could coach a team to 7 wins in back-to-back seasons being faced with that. So we'll see. We will see. Because I do think Solid does a good job of coaching the defense. I can't judge the coaching staff stuff until their offense looks functional. You know what I mean? Like, can they trot out something at quarterback that doesn't resemble this pen? If they do that and it still looks choppy and there's stuff that doesn't work, then all right, maybe people are onto something I wasn't seeing. All right, lastly, the New England Patriots. 4-13 a year ago for the New England Patriots. Last in the division. Shout out to Nick Pearson, who in our win total show last year, which will be coming up again here in a couple weeks, ladies and gentlemen. In the Win Totals podcast, Nick Pearson fucking he pulled out the bow and arrow, or the bow, yeah. Pulled the arrow, got his Alex Pereira on, shot it, and bullseyed. He said the New England Patriots were going to be the worst team in the AFC, and I was like, what? I thought they'd be bad, but I didn't think they'd be that bad, and he nailed it. They were easily the worst team in the AFC. They were a clown show last year. Belichick gone, a lot of stuff gone, new day, new place, whatever for the Patriots. Gerard Mayo, enter Gerard Mayo, the mayonnaise man. He's not really the mayonnaise man, but he is not like mayo mayonnaise, but like, I just came up with that in my own head. Gerard Mayo, I'm excited to see him get his opportunity. A lot of people have been clamoring for him to be the next man up for New England for the last year or so. So I'm excited to see him get his opportunity and to see what it looks like. Alex Van Pelt at OC, DeMarcus Covington at DC. On the additions and subtractions list, there's not a lot to talk about. They brought in Jacoby Brissett. They drafted Drake May, of course. They get Antonio Gibson as a backup running back. They are one of the teams that are in one of the teams that's in on Brandon Ayuk. That would be something. I would be here for it. People are like saying bad things about Drake May. Like, guys, he's going to be fine. He's going to be okay. Let's watch him play a game first before we go on TV, like Colin Cowherd, who says Joe Milton should be the starter. Like, buddy, did you watch Tennessee games last year? Did you watch any game Joe Milton's ever played in college? Drake May should start eventually, but the Patriot, listen, whatever. People are saying, folks are going to say that this team is going to be the worst team in the AFC again. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I clearly have them pegged, at least right now, ahead of Denver and Vegas. I think this team can improve. Will their offense look better? If May plays and looks good, I think so. The problem is they just have literally horrendous skill position guys. Like, at least the Raiders have like really good skill position players. And the Broncos have like NFL average skill position players. The Patriots have nobody good. Ramondre Stevenson's a solid back, but outside of that, it's Kendrick Bourne, Mario Douglas, who has a gadget guy in the right offense would be fun. Jalen Polk, I am interested. Receiver drafted out of Washington. Their O-line has some stuff. Michael Onwenu at tackle, he's great. The inside can be interesting. Cole Strange, Jake Andrews, Chuk Okorofer at left tackle. Their O-line's all right. We'll talk about the other side of the ball in a minute. We're talking about weaknesses right now, but the biggest reason I'm talking about their weakness first, which is their offense, can be upgraded if they do land this Ayuk trade. That's the rumor right now, is that the Steelers, the Browns, and the Patriots are the three teams that are in on Brandon Ayuk. It's been circling for a while. I've just kind of been punting in my own head that Ayuk's probably not going to. I mean, when we talked last week about the Niners, I pretty much mentioned, I said it could be a potential that Ayuk gets moved, but it's not something that I've baked into my NFL take so far as Ayuk being actually traded. If Ayuk lands on the Patriots, then not that that's going to make a massive difference in their win total, but just on how this team looks and operates and whatnot, I think that is it's important. It's very important. And I would love to see it happen, even though it's a team in my division and I'm supposed to hate them, because I want to see Drake May succeed. I think he's really good. And if May gets out there and they got Ayuk out there to throw to and buddy ball with early, that would be important. Outside of that, this offense is going to be very bottom tier. I think it's going to maybe a little bit operationally be better than last year because they don't employ Mac Jones. But outside of that, it is what it is. Here's why I don't think this team is going to be the worst team in the league, because people right now are thinking they are, but I don't. This defense could be the best defense in football. They had in a 5-play stretch last season. Maybe their two best defensive players get hurt. Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez. And I know that is crazy to say about Christian Gonzalez, who is going into his second year. But I tell you, folks, that Gonzalez is that dude. He is one of them, ladies and gentlemen. That is a guy. He is a guy. Gonzalez is one of the best corners in the league. He is going to be that sooner than later. He is a freak. I still cannot believe that he fell to the Patriots last year in the draft. This defense is insane. Judon up front, Barrymore and Godcho inside. Those are dudes. Barrymore is a savage. Josh Uche, Jonathan Jones, Kyle Duggar at safety, Marcus Jones at corner, Jonathan Jones at the other corner. This defense is sick, and Gerard Mayo has been the coach of this defense, and he is now the head coach. And I would like to believe that a coach of a unit that was that good now as a head coach, I would like to think, it's why I'm not out on the hire. It's why I would like to believe. Now, obviously, Belichick was still there, folks. So yes, don't poo-poo my take here. But I'd like to think that Gerard Mayo has a chance to be a decent at the gig. We'll know more in the coming weeks. We'll know in a month, but we'll know more on August. What is it? September? What is it? August 7th, August 6th. We'll know more on September. We'll know more on October 6th than we do now on August 6th. But I don't think this team is going to be 4-13 again. Now, maybe could success exist if they're 4-13? Maybe there's a chance. I have success down for them as an improvement in wins. If they go 5-12 and they just look functional in a sense, I think that's success for them. I think if they go 6 because you still want to maybe get a top pick, because they're not 7-10 would be holy shit, what a year. And signs of Drake May being impressive. If May comes in and it's okay, here we go, then that's good. A failure really is the defense taking a step back, and if Drake May when he plays, he struggles. That's really the only thing that you would consider a failure, really. Outside of that, this is a freeloading year for the Patriots. Gerard Mayo's job is to not make him not look at like an Gerard Mayo's job is to not look like an operational disaster. Don't go full Nat Hackett on the Broncos. if this defense can still be a nightmare, like they're going to be a pain in the ass to play, especially if May comes in a month and a half into the season, whenever they decide to actually let him go, and like this, and they go get Brandon Ayuk, and May looks good, which I think he will, because again, he's really good. Like this team's just going to be a pain in the ass to play, and they bolster potentially a top 5 defense in the league. So last year it was easy to point out that they were going to be terrible, at least for Nick. And I thought they'd be bad. Again, I don't think they would be worse than the AFC bad. That's why I shout Nick out for being completely right on it. But I believe that the thing last year was, their defense was still good, but the problem was that their offense was a fucking disaster, and Mac Jones sucks at football. And the coaching staff offensively was bad. Now, what it looks like now, I've got no idea. That's another thing. Like, what operational things can be better on that side of the football? Who knows? But I just don't think the Patriots are going to be terrible. That's the thing. Like, they are easily 2 teams in the AFC that I have pegged worse than them, and that's Denver and Vegas. Now, if Drake May looks bad, which I don't think he will, and I hope he doesn't, then Houston, we have a problem. Sound the alarms. The Cocoa Puffs will have gone cuckoo for. But outside of that, if May comes in and looks competent, if they can land Ayuk in the next couple days, which again, they're in the race. That's what the reports are. I'm not Adam Scheftering this. I'm just reading Twitter. Then that is interesting. That will have me sit up in my seat a bit and go, oh, okay. Here we go. Now, again, I still think no matter what, they're probably not going to win more than 6 games, but their over-under probably, and I haven't looked, is probably like 4.5. I would bet over. I just would. I think this team's going to be better than last year's version. Okay, that's it for the AFC East. Get done with that. NFC East on Thursday. We'll go through that division. Good God. I don't know. There's a lot of that division that doesn't really make me excited. This division excites me because I can sit here and hate on the Bills for literally 2 hours. I can talk. The Dolphins are intriguing in ways and shape, in different ways. The Jets are intriguing. The Patriots, I'm going to be excited to watch. Not that the NFC East is boring. Like the division that was the hardest for me to get up for was, one of them is the AFC West, because that division, half of the teams I don't really, I'm very unintrigued about. And the Chargers, I think, are average right now. The NFC South will be interesting to kind of find out how I want to talk about that division next week, because that will be a mess. But yeah, the NFC East is one of those divisions as well, where it's like, will I be excited? NFC in general is weird, but it's the job. That NFC North, though, be the last one we do, and we'll have a guest on it, at least one guest, so can't wait for that one. All right. That will do it for today. We will come back Thursday, NFC East show. So come hang out with us for that. This has been the Educated Nerds Podcast, presented by Bryant Beal, our good friend from Keller Williams Midwest Partners. And shout out to our sponsors here on the For Frequency's Sake QC Podcast Network, Durham Remodeling, Ryan Allison Tattoo, and Jared Zook from Country Financial. We'll see you guys Thursday. If you ain't got the game, you best pass the sticks. We'll see you then. We're out, guys. Peace.